Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can. Okay. Yes, Christy, thank you so much. Becky. Okay, good. Okay, good. Well, I am so glad that you guys can hear me and that you've joined me. I hope it was okay to access and get inside. So we'll just wait. It's 5 o'clock here. But I would love to know if you guys can put in the chat where you are joining from. Let me know. Okay, Shirley's from Texas. Susan's from Portland, Oregon. Oh, cool. Louisiana, Washington, England. It's midnight. Oh, Bethany, thank you for joining us. That is so cool. Okay, Florida, South Carolina, Texas, San Francisco, Utah, St. George, Nevada, Southern Utah, Arkansas, Oregon, Canada, Saskatchewan. What a cool place to say you're from. Oh my goodness, that is awesome. Dallas, your neighbor in Riverton. Yay, Michelle. Thanks for joining. Finland. Wow, this is so cool, you guys. Another Canada. Happy Canada Day, Michelle. Very, very cool. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining. Got people from all over, so that is super exciting. I would also love to ask you what level are you with foundation paper piecing? Beginner, intermediate, advanced? I'd love to know. Beginner, advanced, never done it. Awesome. Beginner, intermediate, advanced. Okay, getting a mix. Newbie, that's great. Oh, cool. Okay, never tried it. Never done it. Beginner. Awesome. Want to try it out. This is so helpful to know. Lots of intermediates, some advanced. That's great. And newbies, so we have it all across the board, which is perfect. You are in a great place. Whether you're beginner or advanced, I know you'll find some helpful info here. So just want to thank you all for taking the time to join me tonight. So I'll start out in case you don't know me or, brand new to my page or whatever. My name is Liza. I'm from Utah and I am a paper piecing enthusiast. It is my calling. It is my true love. And so I'm hosting this live tonight because I just want everybody to learn foundation paper piecing because it's so satisfying. You have, quick, small makes that you can do in an afternoon and then you can make into bigger things if you want. And it's just really, really my passion. So I want to thank you for being here again. So, but like I said, I am Liza. I have two little girls. They're 4 and almost 2 that keep me super, super busy, which is why I got into foundation paper piecing in the first place, is because I'm sure a lot of you can relate where you're just in a busy phase of life, right? And these smaller projects were exactly what I needed to feel accomplished, get my creative juices going, have that creative outlet, but not have to spend months working on a quilt or anything like that. So that's why I started foundation paper piecing, and that's what got me hooked and kept me around. Then I started designing patterns and all of that. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. This live tutorial tonight is in celebration of my Paper Piecers membership opening. It's open for enrollment. It only opens a few times a year for a week at a time. So, but in that membership, I'll kind of talk about it later on if you're more interested in hearing more. But it's totally foundation paper piecing. So if you are a passionate FPPer like me, then you might find some value there. So anyway, but I will share more later. So let me tell you about the agenda of events for tonight's call. So we are going to start with the tutorial on the 3-inch strawberry pattern that I sent you all earlier today. It came in 2 emails, and in case you missed it, I will send it out again with this replay after this. Maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So we're going to start with that tutorial, and then we will do a Q&A. So if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I do have a co-host tonight. Her name is Jess from Quilted Studios on Instagram, and her website is Quilted Studios, QUILTD Studios. So Jess is here. She's monitoring the chat, and if you have questions, she's going to put them in a doc for me, and I will do the questions at the end. So be sure to be writing them as you think of them. So we will do a Q&A and ask all of your questions. I'm happy to answer them. That's what we're here for. And then we have a couple of giveaways as well I want to show you. So if you are familiar with my website, I have lots of FPP patterns, but probably the most popular are these sewing notions ones of mine. So I am giving away to 2 people this full bundle of patterns, and they are some of my favorites. So all you have to do to enter, and I will tell you at the end, so don't do it now, but is just tell me one thing you've learned from this tutorial. So that's all you'll need to enter the giveaways. So yeah, that's the agenda for tonight, and we will just get into the tutorial. So if you are completely new to FPP, I'm going to share quickly my favorite tools, and you probably already have all of them or most of them if you are a quilter or a sewer. So my first is just pins. Pins are great, not necessary, but if you want them, they're good to have. Fabric scissors, and I also like little snips just to get the really tiny threads. A rotary cutter, and then you can use any ruler you want, but I really like this add a quarter ruler. It just helps with accuracy. It's super handy, and it really leveled up my piecing game when I bought this. And then you can either do an iron or a seam roller, and I've had this one for a long time. I love it. It's my absolute favorite FPP tool. It's just from Amazon. I got it on Amazon for like $8. So if you have to buy anything, I say buy this because it has been one of my absolute favorite things. It helps you, it saves you from getting up to iron in between each step. So that's what that does. But if you don't have this, then an iron works great. And then my last favorite tool to use for it is a light source. So I personally like to use a light board, but you can use your sewing machine light. You can use the light from a window. You can even, I saw somebody say that you can download an app on your iPad and it'll like stay illuminated, or you can use your flashlight from your phone. So lots of options there for light, but typically I sew at night. So that takes away a couple of my light sources. So that's why I really like the light board. And what's nice about this one is it comes with the cutting mat on top, the self-healing cutting mat. So that also saves some up and down, right? So this is from Cutterpillar, and I love it. I have a couple of their boards. This one's their mini, so look how small it is. It's probably the size of my laptop. Anyway, so I will put links to everything in the email afterwards, and Jess is going to add them here in the chat if you're interested. So anyway, let's get started with the tutorial. You'll also need foundation paper piecing paper, and you can use either FPP specific paper that you can buy on Amazon or your quilt shop. It's more expensive, but it's thin and it tears really easily. Or you can use regular printer paper, which is what I use because it's handy, it's affordable, it tears just fine. So that's what I do. So go ahead. What you're going to do is you're going to print out your strawberry pattern at 100% scale. That is the most important thing, especially with tiny foundation paper piecing. You have to have it at the correct scale because if it prints differently, your 1/4 inch seam allowance, which you'll see by the dotted line, will be off. So make sure I've put this 1 inch test. You're just going to put your ruler on it and measure that. Make sure it's printed correctly, and you'll be good to go. I recommend not running out of ink right before you print something so that it prints in color. I am so sorry I do not have this colored, but I've made it so many times I do know what sections they are, but printed in color, it does come with the red and the green, so you know, so you're clear on what fabric goes where. But in case it does print like this, you could just always refer to the photo and maybe write in like pink, pink, or sorry, red, 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 star, green. If you hear my children in the background, they're here and happy and playing. So that's them. Anyway, so you are going to print this. Then you are going to cut each template out on the dotted line. And then I like to pre-cut my fabric as well so that I just have everything ready. My biggest tip for foundation paper piecing is to set your space up for success. That means you're not having to get up and down, move all around and everything. You can just zone in, have a good time. Everything's there. So I like to have mine on my, let's see if I can show you. I have this little rolling cart from Michael's, and I added this wood flat topper you can get at Michael's too. So I just keep everything here and it's super handy. I also have this little sewing machine mat that I made that I just put under my sewing machine. Oops, and there it falls. But it has pockets and you can just put stuff underneath. That's not showing you very well. Anyway, so set your space up for success so you can enjoy it and have fun. I always like to light a candle or put on a podcast or something and just make the time enjoyable. So once you've done that, you've got all your pieces cut, you got your fabric cut. So to start with tiny foundation paper piecing, well, really with any, I just always say, sorry about the jiggle, cut your fabric pieces larger than you think you need. You can always trim it, you can always go back, but you can't add more, right? So just cut bigger than you think you need. And because I always trim and then I keep the tiny scraps as well. You should see my overflowing scrap bin. I love scraps. So cut larger than you think you need. So let's get started with the tutorial. If you're a complete newbie, let me walk you through it. Let's see here. Let me scooch you in a little bit closer. There we go. Okay, so to start, we are going to lower our stitch length. So let's talk stitch length for a second. For any FPP, you want a smaller stitch length so that it perforates the paper and you can tear it out really easily. For tiny foundation paper piecing, I like to do even tinier stitches just to really, because the lines are so small. So really get as many stitches in as you can. But before you do, think about if you're going to be seam ripping a lot, because if you're going to be seam ripping at all with tiny, tiny stitches, it's just going to ruin your paper template. So if you think you'll be seam ripping, then maybe bump it up to like 1.5. But if you are pretty confident, I would go with 1.2. So let's bring it down. And then here is my first piece we're going to do. So these would be green, the darker pieces. This is the stem. So you always want to follow the letters and the numbers. So you can see B1 is up in that corner and then B2 is that first stem piece. So what you are going to do, and this is where a light board comes in handy. Let me just put it out here. Okay, so I like to keep my light board on my lap. That is why the mini is so nice. And then I turn it on. So the light board is really nice, not only for fussy cutting and getting placement exactly where you want it to be, but it's good to just make sure you're covered on all sides because you want all of your fabric to go at least a 1/4 inch over on every single side. So for this B1, this is my background fabric. You can see I've gone quite big because we can trim it, like I said. And then B2, I've gone pretty big as well. So just go bigger than you think you need. And as you progress with FPP, you'll get more confident with cutting your sizes and stuff. So what you're going to do is you're going to set this down, face down. And then you are going to set your B1 fabric. Let me bring it up to you so you can see better. You're going to set your B1 fabric over the B1 section and make sure it is going over that black line a 1/4 inch. And then you are going to lay your stem fabric right side together with that background fabric, making sure that it's going over that line, that same. I'm just lining those up right. Where's my camera? Right there together. And then if you want to use pins, you can pin them in place. But one of my other tips for tiny foundation paper piecing is to account for the angles. So you can see this is a pretty steep angle. So if I have to think ahead of how this is going to fold over and cover the rest of the shape. Because if this was a smaller piece of fabric and I scooted it out over here, I'd fold it over and it wouldn't cover the whole thing. So make sure you're accounting for the angles so that when you fold it over, it covers the whole thing. So like I said, just go bigger with your fabric. You'll never regret it. So you're going to line those up, lay those together, right sides together with the paper right side down. So then what you are going to do is you are going to hold it in place, flip it over, and we are going to sew on that line, that black line from in between B1 and B2. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, with foundation paper piecing, it doesn't matter if you stitch past that seam allowance line over here or if you started over here. That's totally fine. It'll make your seam a little bit bulkier, but in my opinion, it's fine. And then you can also start backstitch at the start and the end. It will make your seam bulkier as well, but that'll really guarantee your stitches are going to stay. So with foundation paper piecing, with tiny foundation paper piecing, it is easy for the fabric to get wonky. And I always like to finger press it first, right at that stitch line, because sometimes if I go in with my roller or my iron, things can get skewed really fast. And then with the tiny piecing, there's not a lot of room to hide with the overall design on matching up points or anything. So finger press first, and then I like to go in with my seam roller and just roll that flat. You can see how nice and flat that gets. And this is what it looks like on the back. So now we are going to go over here to B3, which is another background piece. So this is why I like this setup, is because I can cut right here. So what you're going to do is you are going to fold this back right on that line between B2 and B3. Go ahead and give that a fold. Then this is where this ruler comes in really handy. It has this ledge. So you just butt that up against the fabric, against the paper template. And then I can just go in with my paper cutter, my rotary cutter, not my paper cutter. And it's clearly a little dull. I'm going to use some scissors for this one. And then it has a perfect 1/4 inch seam from that next piece we're going to lay. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay this down again, face down the template. Since that's a background piece, I'm going to grab my background fabric, and then through the light board, I can see that line that we're going to sew on. So I'm going to line this up here, right sides together. And then we are going to sew on that line between B2 and B3. And if you stitch past, see how I put a couple stitches into B4? That is totally fine. So go ahead and do the same thing. You are going to now open up that fabric, finger press it to make it stay, and then give it a good roll or go iron it. Now we are going to do B4, which is the stem. So we'll just repeat the same thing. Face down, fold it on that solid line, and then cut a 1/4 inch away from it. And you can see that it's perfectly a 1/4 inch away. So now for the stem, we're going to lay this right side down again. You'll get into the flow where it just all starts to groove. Here's my stem fabric. We're going to lay that right side down, and I give myself plenty of room on both sides. See how that is going to clear the template just fine when it's folded over? So then you are going to flip it right side up and sew on that black line for the stem. just like that. And then open up that fabric, finger press, and then roll. And then we have one last piece in this section, B5 over there. So just do the same thing. Fold on that black line, butt up your ruler for 1/4 inch away and trim. Lay the paper piece right side down. Get your background fabric, line it up just like so, and then sew on that line between B5 and B2. So I remember when I first started foundation paper piecing, and I was like, what the heck? How is this ever going to work out? But just trust me, it does. You have to remember that you print it out backward. You print it out backwards, and then things just like look really interesting, and you're just like, how is this going to turn into anything? But it will. Just trust me. So when you are all finished with this piece, when you have done every single section, you are going to lay it face down so the paper is up, and then you are going to take your ruler and just trim around on the, just right outside the dotted line, making sure you're not cutting your paper. Okay, so once you do that, you can see that it's kind of coming together now, right? You can kind of see what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so now we are going to do this strawberry piece. If this was printed in color, these would be the red sections and then the bottom of the star. So we will just quickly run through this one together. So especially for this strawberry, it is really important that you stitch on the black solid line, because even if you're a hair or two off of it, a stitch or two off of it, it'll make your points not match up in the strawberry. So specifically for this pattern, I mean for all, but make sure you are really stitching on that black line. Because I know for me personally, if you're in a rush, it's easy to be just a smidgen off, but you'll see at the end, it will cause these points to not line up. So make sure that you are always just stitching on that. So with that in mind, let's do that one. So C1, see if you can. C1 is this first red piece, and then C2 is the first star piece. So lay your paper template right side down, and then get your first strawberry fabric. Then you are going to line it up like so, with the point clearly covering. Can you see in the light kind of? The point is going to clearly cover the star points by at least a 1/4 inch. So I like to do that. Lay that fabric right side up. Then you're going to take your first star point fabric and lay it right sides together on C2. And you can see, if you'd see better if you had the light, but it's going a 1/4 inch past this C2 line. Then we are going to flip it over and sew this line right here. So go ahead and do that. And then just repeat the process. You're going to finger press it open and then roll it out. And then lay your template right side up, fold along that next line between C3 and C1. I don't really need to trim because my fabrics aren't too crazy. With tiny foundation paper piecing, you can kind of get away with 1/8 of an inch in between. So if you want to do that, that's fine. But if not, stick with the 1/4 inch. Then you're going to put the paper template right side down. Fabrics are right side up. Your next star point fabric goes right side down, lined up 1/4 inch over that next line. Just like that, lined up with this edge. Then you're going to flip it over so your paper is facing up and stitch it. Finger press it open and then seam roll. So now we are going to do C4. So what I'm going to do is the same thing. Put this right side up and fold along that black line between C4. Get out my ruler and trim. Then lay this right side down with your fabrics facing up. Get your next strawberry body fabric and lay it along that edge. Line it up with that edge. And you can see I clearly have plenty when this gets folded over to cover all sides. But like I said, you'll never regret having too much fabric. And then right side up for the paper template and go ahead and sew that line. And open it up. You can see I have plenty of coverage, which is nice. Finger press and then roll. Now C5 is this background corner piece. So lay the paper template right side up. Fold and then trim your 1/4 inch seam. So you can see you can really get into a rhythm and just kind of get into the zone, which is nice. There's my cut for C5. I'm going to take my background fabric, lay the paper template right side down, lay these right sides together, and sew on that line. This is the line you specifically want to make sure you are doing right on that black line. And then open it up. Now we have 2 more sections to do, C6 and C7. So just the same thing, but on the other side. Now I want to say there is no shame in seam ripping, right? So if you need to seam rip, that is totally fine. And practice makes progress, right? So if you are new and you're feeling frustrated by the angles or anything, just remember, practice makes progress and you will get it. I remember when I first started FPP, I had to watch the tutorial video every single time I did it because I could not get it in my head. But it will eventually click and then you'll just become a pro at it. So don't give up. If you're having a hard time, you will get it. Okay, do that last C7 piece by folding that over. Lisa, seam ripping is my jam. You are my girl. I'm the same. Okay. Now our last background fabric piece, we have it right sides together to do that last one. Okay, so we have done every single piece. And we are going to finger press this last one and roll it. Now you are going to do, I got a little piece caught in there. Okay, now you're going to do the same thing where you just flip it right side. So the paper is right side up. Use the other end of the add a quarter if you have it. It's just not a ledge, which is nice. You can use it for all your cutting needs. Okay. Trim around this template. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but if you get these Cutterpillar mats or Cutterpillar light boards, the mat comes with it, which is nice. You don't have to buy it. Okay, so there we go. Now you can see it's starting to take shape, right? It looked really funky, and you were like, how is this going to work out? But it works, right? Okay, so now I'm going to show you, I have pieced the rest of the sections. But where did I put my, oh, here it is. Okay. I have pieced all the rest of the sections. So this is another little section that will go on the other side of the stem. So let's join those up. So all of my foundation paper piecing, let me talk to you. You're not just looking at my lap. Okay, all of my FPP patterns come with these directional arrows. So you always know what section goes where. It also comes with the assembly instructions in the pattern. So this pattern you'll see if you've downloaded it, it'll say start by sewing section E to section B, and then it'll give you those two that match up. So that's handy, right? Okay, so what you're going to do is sew on this black line, and this is your 1/4 inch seam allowance up to the dotted line. So line these up. I like to lay them out like this, so you can kind of see they're both facing in the right direction. And then flip them over. I'm going to line this up, papers to paper. Make sure they're nice and square. And now that they're lined up, I'm going to sew on, where's my camera? Sew on that line, and you can go past it if you'd like. So something to make sure on your foundation paper piecing is that you are sewing directly on that line, both on this front side, and make sure you've done it on the back side as well. You can see my thread got a little caught up in there, but that's okay. So we did a pretty good job on that one. So just make sure that it's all the way across on the black line on both sides. And if not, just seam rip it out and do it again. No big deal. Then you just open it up, and there is our cute little stem topper. So you can see on this back side that now you'll have this paper on both sides. And then you can decide if you want to press it to one side or if you want to press it open. Choice is yours. But I do like to remove the paper right here because we will be sewing it and the paper will get caught. If you want to leave the paper, that's totally fine. Tearing it out will just get a little bit trickier, but I do that all the time. So, but let's just rip these out right now. So you just hold on to it and tear it right out like that. And you can see it just leaves that nice seam right there. So I'm going to do that on both sides. So then I will probably press this open. Just like that, and you can roll it. Okay, so now you can see that the section EB goes to C, which is the one we just did. And this one will show you this top part goes to EB. So lay these down. Lay these nice and flat. This part's coming out. So I'm just going to rip that as well. So lay them like that. And then you can sandwich them. And I'm going to line them up. So I always like to make sure that my intersections are good. But if you line the paper up with the other paper on the edge, then they will line up perfectly. Okay, go ahead and sew those down. Okay, so that's what that looks like along that side. And we double check the back, and that is looking pretty good. So then you open it up. And look at how cute it's coming together, you guys. See, I told you. It looks weird, and then it starts taking shape. So I've already finished the bottom section of the strawberry. This is why I like the light board, because look how cute this fussy cut center is. And it was so easy to get with the light source. So trust me, don't try and place a fussy cut center without light. It's just a headache and you will see ribbit. So what you're going to do is, now this one is D, and it is saying you right over here says put C goes up, and then this one says DF. I can't find the camera. There we go. With the strawberry too, these are two separate sections, as you can see, D and F. So I just did the same thing as I did with the stem and took out the papers, because you can see when it's stitched to the bottom piece, this gets folded over, and then it would be just trickier to get the paper out from inside there, but it's doable. So whatever you want to do. So now what you're going to do is lay these two pieces down and line up. I just like to make sure that this star center is okay. It's going to line up in the center. And then if you lay the rest of the piece down, it'll end up perfectly. And then sew those. And then you can see that our points have matched up perfectly, and it looks so good. Isn't that so cute? I love it. Okay, so now you can remove the papers. I usually give it a nice press before and after removing papers, but you don't need to press it before. This jumpsuit doesn't want to stay up when I'm sitting down. But didn't that turn out so cute? So Stacy, is the strawberry pattern available? Yes, this 3-inch pattern is for everybody that joined. So if you didn't get the emails beforehand where it was included, I'll send it out again after this. Anyway, so now you can remove the paper. It's super satisfying. And like I showed you before, you just tear it out just like that while you're watching a show or whatever you're doing. And it's so fun. So that's the 3-inch little guy. I love 3-inch patterns. I love mini. So all of my FPP patterns come in the 3-inch size because I just can't get enough. So anyway, I'm so glad you guys think it's cute too. So let me just make sure I got all of my notes for the tiny piecing. Let's see. I think I got it all. Yep. Okay, I got all my tips. So I wanted to show you guys a couple things real quick. So what I said earlier, when I love FPP because of the smaller projects and just quick to get done. The fun thing is now the possibilities are endless with this, right? Like you could turn it into whatever you want. So I wanted to show you some ideas, some inspiration. So I have this pincushion pattern, which is the 3-inch. You can just stick that right on, and it's a cute little boxy pincushion. All of these are in the paper piecers. So that was why I started the paper piecers, was because I had all these FPP blocks, and I was like, well, what do I do with them now? I made all these fun blocks, but they're just sitting. So that's what I wanted the paper piecers to be, was a place to have project patterns that you can put the blocks straight into. So these project patterns come in multiple sizes to fit any size of the FPP blocks you make. So these are project patterns in the paper piecers, and they're meant to just put the blocks straight into. So this is brand new today, just launched, the carry-all, and these are the 3-inch strawberries. So you make 6 of them, and then you make this boxy carry-all bucket thing. Isn't it cute though? I love it so much. So you could do that with your strawberry. Like I said, the pin cushion. I made this oven mitt with the, this is the 5-inch strawberry. So I made that. It's cute little double oven mitt. And then also I made one of the project patterns is this market tote bag, which is my new favorite. I'm wanting to make everything into it. So this is the 7-inch strawberry that I used. So these are 2 applique patterns from Sarah B. Quilt, Sarah Brown on Instagram. You have to look her out. She makes the prettiest things. So these applique patterns are bonuses in the paper piecers. And then this was a last month's block. So this is the Market tote bag, boxy edges. I love it. I'll show you real quick. This is the same one in the smaller size with this month's pattern. So it's a forget-me-not flower, and it comes with the stem as well, which was fun to make. The forget-me-not represents true love. So I thought that was sweet. If you wanted to make it and gift it to someone special, thought that would make their day. So I wanted to share those project pattern ideas with you guys. You can also do pillows, wall hangings, pot holders, coasters. Like, the possibilities are endless. So really just let your creativity shine and do whatever speaks to you. That's the point of sewing, right? It's just to have fun. So I want you guys in the chat to write down what you learned tonight in this tutorial. And then Jess will pick 2 people randomly to win the Sewing Oceans patterns. And then I'll get those emailed to you tonight. So I'll give you guys a minute to write in the chat what you learned or what you found useful. And I hope that you were able to learn some things. And then after this, we will go into the Q&A. Oh, good. I'm glad. Small pieces of FPP aren't that intimidating. They were for me at first, so I'm glad I'm not alone. Yes. Oh, good, Susan. It's not as difficult as you thought. That's music to my ears. I love to hear that. Like I said, I was very intimidated, and I had to watch the tutorial. I think it was by maybe Fat Quarter Shop every time I did it. And then one day it clicked, and I was like, oh, there you go. Yep. Okay. The seam roller is a good one. Yes, instead of ironing. The thing about ironing too is with these small pieces especially, like, it can warp your fabric, right? So, or if you've cut them on the bias, which often scraps are, they can just go crazy. So I like to use the seam roller. Okay, good. I'm glad it's sounding easier than you guys thought. So I'll give you guys 1 more minute to put your answers in, and then we can choose a couple winners. Yes, practice makes progress, Paige. Absolutely. Oh, good. Roxanne, I'm glad they were easy to follow. Yes, you need the Cutterpillar Light board. It really leveled up my FPP game. It really helped with my accuracy. And I don't know if I said, but if you want the Cutterpillar, I have the link and a discount code for 15% off, which is really nice on these bigger purchases for sewing. But I do use my light board for applique. I use that a ton when I was making those applique patterns. And they do have, if you're like a big crafter, like you hot glue and stuff, they have other things a glass topper you can put on top. So use it for more than just FPP. All right, we'll just wrap it up. Okay, great. Well, Jess is going to pick 2 winners, and then whoever she picks, she's just randomly picking. Then if you'll leave your email, she'll collect them, and I'll email you the patterns. Lynn, where do we find the link and discount code? Jess will post them here for you once she's done the giveaway. So just give her a sec. And then I will also email out with the replay, with the pattern in case you missed it, and the link with the discount code and everything. That'll go out. I'll do that right after this. So you can snag one if you would find it useful. So, okay. Jess will pick 2 people, and then she will, let's see. I'll see what their names are. Okay. Okay, so our first winner is Paige Foster. Yay, Paige. And second is Lisa Middleman. So if you guys can please put your emails in the chat, we will, I'll get you those patterns tonight. So yay, Paige, let me reread them. Paige Foster and Lisa Middleman. Okay, so let's get into the Q&A. Please ask all your questions. That's what we're here for. That is the point of this, is to get your questions answered. So put your questions in if you haven't, but let me start answering some. So does the cutting mat come with the light table or is it an add-on? It comes with it, which is super nice, right? And every size does. So I have a couple sizes for the light board. I have the mini, which I've been using, and the premium. The premium is bigger and it is wireless, which is really nice. That's why I like the premium. You don't have to have it plugged in. This mini, you do, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal, right, to have it plugged in. So just decide what your needs are for it, and then go off that for what size to get. Okay, are you using an open toe foot to see where the lines are on your pattern? Let me show you. Oh, my cord is just stuck. Let me show you what foot I'm using. You know what? Let me just take it off so you're not looking at the light. To be honest, I don't know what this foot is called. I have a Bernina and it is a 97D, so it is very nice and handy, but there we go. Goodness gracious. Okay, is it best to start with bigger patterns because of all the small seams? Yeah, I would say I would start with the bigger patterns, maybe a 5-inch, 7-inch. I have a 10-inch, and the 10-inch gets kind of unruly sometimes for bigness. But I also have lots of free patterns. So if you want to just try FPP and see if you like it, with this replay, I'm going to be sending out a link to my FPP ebook. That's a tutorial, and it comes with a free granny square pattern. I also have a free American flag pattern. And now I'm blanking on the rest, but they're in my Instagram highlights. You can get them there. So try out FPP on those if you want to try it out first. Let's see. Is the Lightboard cord free? The mini is not, but the premium is. And is it necessary to reverse it all? Yep, I would backstitch. My machine does it automatically, but yes, I would backstitch at the start and beginning. When do you pull the papers out? At the very end is when I pull them out, or like I showed when you're sewing those seams together. What other sizes do your FPP patterns come in? They come in the 3-inch, 5-inch, 7-inch, and 10-inch finished, right? So this one right now is going to measure 3.5 inches all around, because you still have that 1/4-inch seam all the way around. So once you sew it into a project or into a quilt or whatever, it'll be 3 inches. Are the gardening tools still available if I join the paper piecers? So I forgot to say, the paper piecers, every month you'll get a new foundation paper piecing pattern. And those patterns are only there for that month they're released. But the project patterns are permanently in there. The thing that I'm doing right now is, because I've had so many people wanting the past patterns that aren't members, is I did bundle them. So if you want to join and you want the bundle, they are there in a bundle, all 9 past patterns at a heavily discounted price. So you can get them if you want them, but no, they are not just in the membership. So let's see. What are you seam ripping while sewing the pieces? I wasn't clear. I'm just seam ripping out the paper, or no, sorry, the fabric. So let me show you. My thing fell. So it would just be like normal seam ripping in between those 2 fabric layers right there. And it doesn't mess up your paper template unless you are seam ripping all the time. I could probably get away with 2, and then it's just pulverized. So, and let's see. Can you do freezer paper piecing? Yes, absolutely. You can do that. Do you ever use the added 1/8? Yep, definitely on the shorter or the tiny ones. Yes, you can definitely use the added 1/8. And I think that is all the questions. Let's see. The water pen, Tracy. Yes, I love the water pen. Super nice. And so what the water pen is for is to help you tear out the paper after. So you just get the seam wet and it just tears right away. So that's super nice. The water pen's nice. And you can also use a Q-tip with water if you don't have the water pen. Can you explain how the membership works? Yes. So it's a monthly membership. And like I said, you'll get that FPP pattern every single month. This month was the forget-me-not flower and the stem. And the project patterns, there's 9 of them now, you guys. So whatever you're feeling like making, there's probably something in there for you. The project patterns are always there, but these only stay in there for a month. And then there's a community where it's so much fun over there. We chat, we share inspiration, we ask questions. It's really, really fun. And you can post your photos. We do challenges every month. You share your photo and you'll be entered to win a gift card. We do meetups. So we've had people come teach us applique. Fabric designers do trunk shows for us. This month we have Tori Brown from Mountain Air Handmade. She's coming to teach us how to put any block on a sweatshirt. So with quilted clothing trending at an all-time high right now, I thought that'd be a fun one to come make sweatshirts, customized sweatshirts. So we have that aspect, and there's tutorials in there. There's, what else is in there? A couple bonuses, the applique patterns. You can cancel anytime. It's $10 a month, or you can get a discount if you do for a whole year. And I think that's it. Does that answer your question? I love it. It's so much fun. Just the community is just always, there's always people in there that are active and asking questions and sharing thoughts. And it's just a really cool place to be. So Jess will put the link to the paper piecers here in the chat. And if you want to pop over, look at the page, get all the details. If you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime. I'm happy to answer them all. So let's see. Are the project patterns available outside the membership? No, not right now. Can you get the forget-me-not? No, just in the membership right now. And how to join. So it's www.thepaperpiecers.com. And Jess will put the link here for you guys. But I will include the link as well in my email I'm going to send out right now. So, oh, Lisa, I'm so excited. So excited to have you. Well, anyway, you guys, thank you so much. Oh, if it's only available for a month, is there a way to save it for future use? So good question, Katie. Once you download it, you have it forever. So it's just available in the membership for the month. But if you forget to download a pattern, you miss a past pattern, email me, I'll send them over. But yes, you get it forever once you download it. But it's just so if you're not a member, you can't get the patterns when they're released. And there's, it's hosted on a website that's called Kajabi, and you can also download the Kajabi app and just have it on your phone and be responding to people in the community, which is super fun and handy because I've been a part of memberships before and I'm like, wait, how do I even access it? But like I said, always available for questions if you have them, whether it's about the membership or foundation paper piecing or anything. You just want to chat, feel free to email me. Okay, I'm so glad, Roxanne, you are ready to try FPP. And like I said earlier, if you want to try FPP, see if you like it, then I will be sending out a couple of free patterns. So anyway, you guys, thank you for joining. I'm so thrilled that you were here with me. I hope it was good and you learned something. So anyway, I will send out the email with all the links. Anything we talked about will be there. So, yep. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you later. Thank you.